So we just had a very interesting session on the stock markets, and where the experts gave us wonderful advice. I'm delighted to have with me this afternoon Puneet Chhatwal, whose stock, may I add, is also keeping investors very happy of late. Uh, he is, of course, a stellar hotelier, and we will get into some of the aspects of the Indian Hotels company, which he leads, and how he perceives both the hotel segment, the hospitality segment, and the plans for the Taj Group. Um, First of all, many congratulations, Puneet, for the brand perception and the brand study, which shows that you've grown. Your brand strength has grown 45% to 545 million at last count. That's some fantastic showing. And tell us what are the key elements, two or three elements, which made this happen? Because it's the strongest brand in the world is the Taj Group now, and that's something which we really need to be feeling proud about. So tell us how you did it.
Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. I don't think there is that one secret recipe sauce where you say, okay, this is, if you put this and this in, from the speakers before, dal, chawal, tadka, this is not how it works. I think it's a legend that has been created over a century. We are celebrating 120 years of the Taj. It's a lot of work done by our forefathers in securing iconic palaces, iconic locations across the globe. It's the service ethos and the way we conduct ourselves, our DNA, which we call Tajness. It's the continuous quest for leadership in hospitality, in the ability to contribute to nation building, which Taj has done much before I dreamt of going into hotel business in the 70s by moving into Goa, and later, a few decades later, moving into Kerala, more recently moving into Andamans. So I think it's a combination of the whole. And something strange has happened in the world. I don't know how many people here have traveled recently post COVID outside of India. The prices have tripled and the services have dropped to one third of the level. So obviously, Asian hospitality stands out, and our culture of service stands out very strongly, which has enabled us for actually for 4 years now to be among the strongest hotel brand, of which 3 years as number one, and India's strongest brand across sectors. Obviously, a bit aided by the way we conducted ourselves during COVID, in all the things that we did um, for the common good of the society at large.
I remember we spoke during the COVID days as well. It was possibly the biggest crisis which hit the hospitality sector. And then Taj came out of it with flying colors and really grew. In fact, it also gave birth to cumin and other such initiatives, which we'll come to later. But tell us a little bit about those days and what were the three or four things you did which sort of brought Taj out of that terrible time.
That is behind us. I think my saying that I keep repeating everywhere is you can change your business plans, you can have contingency plans, uh, you can do a reset, you can do whatever you want. That you can change every few years, but you cannot change your core values. And the core values of Taj are trust of all our stakeholders. That's the T, the awareness of what is happening around us, and joy in doing whatever we do. And in hindsight, I think that's the core values of the brand that we carry, our mainstream brand, and the core values of the Tata Group, the five core values of the Tata Group that get you through the worst of times. So I think that's what it was.
Also, you've repositioned the brands in quite a bit, in detail. Would you like to take us through that journey of how those brands came about? What are the positioning of each of these brands? Because ultimately, it's the Taj Group, right? You expect a certain level of service and comfort and luxury out of a Taj Group, but then you have broken them up into various sub brands. That's very interesting. So, and yet the overall overarching theory philosophy is that of Tajness. So, how do you sort of merge the two?
See, as the previous panelist said, India is becoming aspirational. And aspiration cannot only be at the top end or the luxury. Aspiration is at every end of the customer segment. This started post 9/11, the world changed. The previous India and the previous world was different. Post 9/11, jeans started falling off the hips. Whether you call it the millennials or it's called the Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever. Um, Everything needed to be a bit fashionable. Everything needed to be in tune with time. And I think that's where some of the greatest ideas that we had were possibly a victim of the timing as the world changed. When they were conceived, there was no 9/11. By the time they opened, the 9/11 had happened. So, Ginger, for example, is a very happening place. Those in Mumbai might have seen the new Ginger just next, to the airport. And it's a beautiful building. It's doing very well. It's breaking all records, and it's very aspirational. It's very communicative. It has a lot of spaces that people can have a lot of fun with and don't pay for the swimming pool, which they're not going to use, etc., etc. Similarly, we reimagined Vivanta, we introduced selections. We just now, a few weeks ago, we have reimagined and relaunched the Gateway brand. So these ideas were great, but in the era that they were possibly conceived was the era of Taj Mahal Palace only. And if you were somebody, you had achieved something in life, then you were at the chambers. We still have the chambers, we still have the Taj Mahal Palace. It's the crown jewel of India, but there is space for others too. So that's how the India has changed. The middle class has changed. The people with disposable income have changed. The businesses have changed. The number of people traveling has changed. The, staying in a hotel is a need. If you fly to many destinations from Mumbai, including capital cities of our states, you can get there, but you cannot come back the same day. So you have to go there again the following day because the plane that gets you there is the plane coming back. So I think travel from being just luxury, it started servicing a fundamental need of the humanity, and especially in a buoyant India where people are doing well, the growth is great, per capita income is increasing, disposable income is increasing. By 2030 or even earlier, as per some, we should be third largest economy. So you will also have the effects of all that, which the other economies in the world have, and that includes travel, hospitality, leisure, luxury, consumer goods will go up, and it's all a matter of statistics in terms of number of iPhone sales in India, number of SUVs in India being sold. So in all sectors, that's happening.
No, that's a very well put, manner in which you explain the expansion. Because in a different India, in a new India, you need to be broad basing the offerings which your brand has. Now, tell us a little more about the luxury segment in particular, Puneet, because Taj at the top end is associated with uber luxury, right? So, what are the changing trends in today's world when so many foreign, tourists are coming to India? And we'll come to a little, detail a little later on that. But what are the trends you see in luxury, and how is Taj as a brand sort of changing to address those changes?
First of all, luxury is timeless. There is always space for luxury, including during COVID, when there was no place to spend. There were more online sales on luxury than it ever happened. We even came up with hospitality at home, bringing basically Taj to people's houses, bringing Golden Dragon to people's houses. So I think this is how Cumin was born. So I think luxury is something timeless. What has changed in the luxury, and these changes are not constant, although change is the only constant. But at the moment, and in the last 5 years, and maybe the foreseeable future, luxury at every price point is becoming more and more experiential. So people are going into small boutique luxury, people are going into homestay luxury, people are going into the Taj kind of palaces, that kind of luxury, safaris, very strong, resorts, villas on the beach. So I think all that is happening for sure, very big way in India, and it was always there in the other top, G7, G10, G20 countries. But this is a recent phenomenon, and it got a lot of tailwind, especially during COVID time.
Uh, you have global presence, large global presence as well. I mean, your London hotel is, personal favorite. But what are the changes you are making as globally luxury and the hospitality industry changes, and also it's a very Indian brand at the core of it, right? Which you mentioned. How are you then, as an Indian brand, catering to a global audience as you go further and further across the world?
See, your DNA has to be right. You don't have no elephant standing outside a hotel in New York. You'll not have those kind of people wearing saris and doing the service. But for our Indian customers, if they want a dosa, or if they want chole bhature, or if they want puri aloo, it's there on the morning buffet. Whether you are in London or if you want to order it in New York, that's possible. That's possible with us. But as they say, do in Rome as the Romans do, that hotel is there. What it is supposed to exude is your service culture, your ethos, your pathos of the brand. And I think we have done that quite well, especially I always tease that around Wimbledon time, if anyone wants to meet any who's who of India, just go to the Taj in London and you'll meet all of them in the courtyard. So you don't have to spend so much money, you don't have to spend a lot of time. Just buy a ticket, go to London, and spend the entire day in our courtyard. So I think there is a lot of that is happening. At the same time, we have made a conscious decision only to grow the Taj brand from our brandscape outside of India. So next year we'll be opening a hotel in Frankfurt. We are opening 3 hotels in Bhutan over the next 12 months. We will be opening in Dhaka in Bangladesh. Um, we are very close to doing a hotel of the first Indian brand to enter Switzerland. So there is a lot of that stuff happening. At the same time, balancing the business model. We are not going shopping like we did 20 years ago and bought hotels. These are hotels on management contracts or on operating lease, as the institutional funding is available in certain parts of the world at only 5% return on capital. So why should we spend, our capital return needed is 15 or higher. So so I think there is a lot of opportunity, a lot of things happening, and we are unleashing the potential. I don't think many in the audience would know this, but I'll just say Taj was 33 hotels 5 years ago, and today it's a portfolio of 112, of which 86 are in operation. So it's almost tripling the size of hotels in operation in such a short period, and a lot of people who have been to our new properties like the Taj in Rishikesh or the Taj Chia Kutir in Kurseong, Darjeeling area, or the Guras Kutir in Gangtok. We're about to open Taj in Puri. So and doubling the size of the Taj Ganges in Banaras. So I think there is a lot of that is happening. Opening another palace like Savai Man Mahal on the grounds of Rambagh Palace. So there is a lot of work that we have done both within India and are doing that abroad. And be assured that Taj is not just Tata Group's crown jewel, it will remain India's crown jewel.
That's right. I also wanted to ask you about the debate in the hospitality industry about asset light versus asset right. That's not just a turn of phrase, but that's reality in your business. What is the Taj view on that? Well, how do you go about selecting? Because you mentioned that you don't go about shopping and buying out hotels like you did earlier, because and that I think the investors seem to be recognizing that smart strategy. So, what's your sense on that?
See, we have guided the markets on a balanced portfolio earlier, but now it will be a bit more on the lighter side. But that does not mean we are not investing. As we speak, we are building two islands in Lakshadweep. It's again part of nation building. That's the islands of Suheli and Kadmat. We are building two properties of Vivanta and Ginger in Ekta Nagar, which is Kevadia, where the Statue of Unity is. We just signed up for a Taj in Ranchi, and so the list can go on and on. These are projects in which we are investing our money. These are
What would be
destinations.
the quantum of investment, Puneet?
I think we are looking at investing more than 3,000 crores over the next 5 years in existing assets, in terms of renovation, in their upkeep, in terms of their extension, plus also building new ones. So, which means 500-600 crores per annum, and some of them will be eventually placed within group companies or kind of a sale and lease back or managed back. We built the Ginger Santa Cruz with our own money, 250 crores. But phenomenal investment. We expect the payback to be in less than 4 years. So I think there is no right formula. We are still a young, rich nation which is on the path and the journey of growth. And we are a very promoter driven country, and in order to secure trophy assets, strategic locations, building flagships, we will have to invest. But in order to accelerate growth and increase your margins, you have to follow also a part as asset light, and we call it now capital light and capital heavy, because if you're signing operating leases for a Ginger on a revenue share, it does not qualify as capital heavy. So there is no capital, but it's also not totally light either because it's a commitment to pay. So I think there is no right formula. I personally spent 30 years living outside of India, and I propagated asset light, as you said, for decades. But my key learning in last 6 7 years is that that was not right. You have to sometimes put your money where your mouth is. And if you, as a leader in hospitality in the country, are not willing to underwrite, who else will? And that's your competitive advantage, especially if you are debt free and you have cash on
Also,
your
if you're
balance sheet, you
wanting
can
to
use it.
push experiential, then you need to do it yourself in the best way the Taj can do.
And building destinations, having that first mover advantage. Had 40, 50 years ago our forefathers not moved so fast in Goa, I don't know if anybody can guess that today we have 40 outlets in Goa, 15 hotels and 25 homestays. So there is a first mover advantage. Of course, it could be bumpy in the first 3, 4, 5 years, but purely light, no, it doesn't work.
The other trend which is
And
happening.
sorry, purely dal chawal also doesn't work.
No, also, talking of luxury, one major trend which is being witnessed in an aspirational India and indeed across the world is that of sustainability. People are opting for sustainable options, whether it is luxury, whether it is hotels, whatever. How does the Taj look at this trend?
Well, we have communicated very strongly our ESG plus program called Pathya. Um, Although we are not in an ideal space because it's built outside of the hotel as a temporary structure. But if you look at all the tables, you don't find any plastic. You find Pathya bottles. These are water bottles done in house. You will have all, whether it's writing pads, papers, tablecloths, it's all sustainable materials. And we have committed to go fully into renewable energy, skilling 100,000 people in India by 2030. being single use plastic free, um, recycling 100% of the wastewater. So there is a lot of those goals that we are given, and we keep measuring quarter on that. And as things stand today, we are far ahead of the guidance that we have given, and we will not wait till 2030. If we can achieve those goals by 2027, 28, we'll be not only happy, we'll be proud too.
Also, three times strongest brand in a row. Next 5 years, where does one see the Taj Group, and how do you think it will look?
Definitely a bit more than what you have seen in the last 5 years. We are, as they say, if you're 120 years old, you're like a big, heavy tanker. It takes time to drive change and make it move. But once it starts moving and rolling, it takes even more energy to try to stop it. So this tanker is rolling, and whatever you've seen last 5 years, add a few, percentages point like 10, 15, 20, 30. Ideally, I would say even 50, and take it further to the next level. And why not? If India is going to become the third largest economy and we are world's strongest hotel brand, why should we not be among the top three hotel companies in the world? Today, in terms of value, we are at number five, but I think the time has come not only to be as an economic powerhouse, but also in terms of our hospitality to gain ground globally, and also, you know, when I went to hotel school, I was learning from the West. Why not teach the West how service is to be uh, given going forward? So I remain fairly optimistic. And today, in terms of value of a company with brand and management in the global arena, we are at number five. So I don't think that number three is overly ambitious or aspirational. I think it's just a matter of time that would happen.
Taking hospitality, Indian hospitality and Taj to the world. Puneet Chhatwal, big hand for him, ladies and gentlemen.